Hi, I'm Dan Johnson. We are here at Sebring Expo 2013, and we are going around and talking to a number of light sport aircraft purveyors and asking them about their aircraft in a flight school environment where it can see some unusual duty. The premise is that some people in the GA world and some other reporters have said, yeah, they're nice little airplanes and they're fun to fly around and they have their attributes, but if you put one in a flight school, they're just not going to hold up. And we have proof from many people that that's just simply not the case, and we're trying to defang that argument, if you will, and say, hey, it's not the case. So John Gilmore is the National Sales Manager for Flight Design USA. Flight Design is the market leader in the LSA space, has been since day one, has retained that #1 position all throughout. So evidently you're doing your job right. Kudos to you for that. And but tell us a little bit about these airplanes used in a flight school environment.
Well, right now we've got about 30 flight schools, actually. I think as many as 34. And we have one in Las Vegas that uses it. He said, I love this airplane for its training. He said, old 150s, 172s, they have electronic gauge, or the steam gauges, which fail, vacuum pumps fail. This thing, maintenance is very, very low. Easy. My instructors like instructing in it, and the customers like coming in, so we get more customers in for it. He's very happy.
Are they using it a lot?
They're using it a lot. They in fact are looking for a second airplane. They say this is bringing us so much money and doing so well that we want another airplane. So part of it was just getting financing for these flight schools. We've got another flight school that two 141 schools which use the CTs and Part 141 training. So they're heavily used. They've got 172s and CTs. And what they found is that they start ab initio students in the 172s, but they find that the CT pilots come out of there and they're a little bit better because these planes teach people how to use the controls. They're very responsive, where the Cessna's a little bit more. He said by the time they get to an advanced pilots, they're better pilots. They do better in instruments, they do better on their multi-engine airplanes. So for the 141 school, it's a very, very good airplane. Now, precursor to this airplane was our CT, which we have here in the U.S., about 350 in the U.S. We have almost 200 of the CTSW's early model, and its precursor in Germany has had 13,000 documented landings on a landing gear.
This is a single airplane, or this is all?
Single
one airplane?
13,000 landings. So when we came to the States, we used that same airplane in some early flight training, but now this newer version has a better landing gear. It's a spring landing gear. It's a little wider, it's a little easier to land, and in fact, if you make a hard landing on this one, it's designed so that it can actually delaminate in 45 minutes. We've had people who've made an incredibly hard landing and actually bent this particular landing gear. We've replaced it in as little as 45 minutes.
Wow.
and back flying. So the robustness of the aircraft has improved tremendously. The handling has improved. And it really.
You're talking about the CTLS
the
now.
CTLS now, as opposed to our one that's made 13,000. I don't know any CTLSs yet that have had 13,000 landings.
Well,
but
I haven't been out long enough to do that.
We've got a flight school up in Pennsylvania that has about 700 hours on their flight design. They say, we love this airplane. And we won't hear from these guys for a long time. I mean, the airplanes literally fly. They do some routine maintenance. Every now and then I say, what's going on? They go, it's working great. I need another one. I'm flying this thing 110 hours a month. You know.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So there are schools that are using it to that extent. 100 hours a month. That's 1,200 hours a year.
They say we cannot keep up. It was good season. Obviously, when the weather's crappy, sometimes they
but if they could go all year, that would be 1,200 hours in a year. So I mean, right there, that starts to say, well, they couldn't. If these airplanes are going to fall apart, like some people say, and the airframe, the gear hits the airframe so hard that it can't hold up together, you couldn't begin to get those kind of hours. You'd be maintenance all the time. The company would be getting phone calls all the time. I need new this, I need new that, and you're not hearing that.
Yeah,
so one of the strong arguments then is, look, if you're going to buy one for a flight school, buy it from a company that's prepared to support it.
Of course.
There may be some cool designs out there that an individual could make work, but in a flight school, better have somebody with spare parts and people on the other end of the phone to help solve problems, because problems are going to happen. So the maintenance on the airplane, we know that you can have an A&P work on it, but you can also have a light sport repairman work on these airplanes.
Correct.
And they can do the engine stuff too, right?
Yes, if they've gone to the Rotax class, it's a $500. You can become certified to work on the engine. So you can change your own oil, you do your own work, and then with the light sport repairman class, I think it's just as little as 2 weeks, you could actually do maintenance on the aircraft.
Cool. So
in any flight and training environment, you have to have the 100-hour inspections. It's the same.
Right, it's a flight school thing.
It's a GA aircraft, and it needs maintenance, and you need 100-hour inspections.
So let's talk about two other things, both related to cost. Acquisition cost. The airplane costs a certain amount of money. Doesn't matter the number, but it matters what if you use it then for a year, 2 or 3 years, or however long in a flight school environment, and then you go sell it.
Right.
The residual value.
It's like
we want to kind of know the difference.
It's like a car. It's like a car lease. If you get a car, buy a car that's an expensive car, and you lease it, you can get a lot more car as long as the residual value doesn't drop too low. Well, we have good residual value. In fact, our airplanes, the newer ones, are holding their value pretty well, and they're in high demand right now. People want those airplanes. So if you buy it, it's not going to depreciate as much as you'd have an airplane, say, that doesn't hold its value. So this is one of those BMW kinds of cars where you buy it, it holds its value. I should say Mercedes, but it holds its value very long, and you're able to sell
so
it and get your money back, basically.
Because they say, look, I can go out and buy a 150, a 172, right, a used one.
Yes.
And of course, you're going to get an older airplane that's going to have more maintenance issues, going to cost more to operate, it's not going to look as good. That's a given. You know that when you bought it. But the reality of it is, when you buy and sell that, or you buy and sell this, you're still going to come out okay after you've had a chance to earn your money as a flight school airplane.
Correct.
You made money doing that, and then you sold the airplane, and you still got a lot of your original value back.
You do, and one thing that people have found is that the Rotex engine with this 2,000-hour TPO has great maintenance, and it lasts a long time. And as the value of the engine or the hours go up, what people have found they do is take them out. They can sell those airplanes on the used market for things like airboats or experimental stuff, and they can sell them for $8,000 or $9,000. They buy a brand new out of the factory Rotex engine for under 20, and for $8,000, the differential, you can't even overhaul this airplane for much less than $15,000.
Right.
So you can, for $8,000 all day long, 2,000 TPO engine.
And there's a right market in the experimental world.
Right, this airplane over a G airplane is, I don't know, they're a little bit apprehensive, the Rotex. That is not a worry. So
that's mostly because it's different, not
airplane,
because it's
right,
not good. It's just
good,
they don't
different,
know it well. But once they get to know that, it's different.
In training environment, we've had this at 3.2 gallons per hour, throttling up, coming back, throttling up.
So let's say that 172, which is actually more common these days in flight schools than 150s, you're at 10 gallons an hour of avgas. This is, and now you got this new fuel-injected engine too, which brings it down even to 4, even a cruise then. And with auto gas, so there's getting to be a pretty wide differential. You do that over a flight school for years of operation of 1,000 hours a year, or whatever they can get in. You're talking serious savings.
And you can charge the same. You can charge more actually, because people look at this, they go, well, I want to fly this because it looks like Star Wars.
It's got the modern look, modern panel, big cockpit. So we've mostly been talking about flight schools and some things that we've just discussed, but to find out more about the airplane for an individual that wants to buy it, maybe not a flight school operator, but anybody, all of them, where are we going to go on the web to find more information about the new CTLSi or the other products that the company sells, John?
The website's flightdesignusa.com.
All right. We've been talking with John Gilmore, the National Sales Manager. We'll put that website up on the address on the screen for you, for everybody watching this. I've got lots of information on the CT and the Flight Design Company on my website. That's bydanjohnson.com or bydanjohnson.com. We're going to go looking for some more airplanes that have a lot of good history in flight schools in the LSA space.